Hey everyone, ready to dive into something delicious? Today we're tackling the science of taste.
Ooh, taste. I love that
And
topic.
we've got a whole stack of research articles, like a whole symposium's worth of insights.
Really?
Yeah, from taste buds to the brain, and even how culture gets involved. It's fascinating.
It's funny how we talk about taste buds, but it's way more than just what happens on your tongue.
Right. That's what really struck me too. It's like this whole chain reaction. You've got the physical part, the chemicals, then signals zapping up to your brain.
But it's not just biology, right? Like, think about individual experiences, cultural stuff, even just the setting of a meal can change how something tastes.
Oh, totally. Like there's this example from the research about mussels. They were saying how a fisherman who grew up on those things would have a totally different experience from someone trying them for the first time at a fancy restaurant.
It's the same muscle, but the whole story around it changes how we taste it. And then there's evolution, too. Our taste receptors didn't just magically appear.
Right. Millions of years of development. And not just for us either. In one article, The Science of Taste, they talk about how different species developed taste receptors to figure out what was good to eat and what could be dangerous.
Totally a survival thing. Like
No.
cats, they're obligate carnivores, so their diet is only meat. And over time, they actually lost the ability to taste sweetness.
Wait, cats can't taste sweet things. Seriously.
Totally serious. It's because they didn't need it to survive. And it all comes down to a gene, TIES1R2. It's like the instruction manual for building the sweet taste receptor. And in cats, it just became inactive.
Wow. So their DNA literally changed because of what they ate. That's evolution in action. I wonder if human tastes are changing too, with all the different things we eat now.
Now, that is a fascinating question. And, scientists are looking into that right now. But beyond just the biology, there's this whole other layer of culture that gets mixed in with how we experience flavor.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's this article called Place-Based Taste, and they talk about how finding delicious food is tied to both our biology and all the different cultures out there.
It's this cool idea that the best tasting food isn't just about how it hits your tongue, it's about where it comes from, what it does for you, like nutrition, and how it connects to a specific place and the people there.
Like the Nordic Food Lab,
Yeah,
right? They're all about using regional ingredients and traditional ways of cooking to create these really unique flavors that are specific to a region.
exactly. And they're not just focused on like pleasing your taste buds. They think deliciousness should also include how ethical the food is, how sustainable it is, even its impact on the environment.
So it's like, it's not just what tastes good, but also what's good for the planet and the people who grow it. That's a really big picture way of looking at things. Okay, now this is where it gets even more interesting, at least to me. The researchers also talk about how tasting is a social thing. Like it's not just me having an experience, but something we do as a culture.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. We learn about food from our families, our communities. We share meals, we talk about what we like, and that all shapes what we think is delicious.
Like Bourdieu's idea of lifestyle, right? Our social background and experiences shape what we enjoy eating and even how we talk about food. Like if someone grew up eating spicy food all the time, their idea of delicious is going to be different from someone who's used to milder flavors.
Exactly. And these cultural influences start shaping us when we're kids. That's where the IDE Fit study comes in. They looked at kids' taste preferences in 8 different European countries.
Wow, 8 countries. I bet they found some big differences. What did they see?
Oh, yeah, tons of differences. The country where a kid lived was a big factor in whether they preferred sweet, salty, bitter, or umami tastes. But they also found some connections between what kids liked and their health, which is a little concerning.
Oh no, what kind of connections? Tell me more.
Well, it seems like having a strong preference for fat and sugar, especially in girls, was linked to a higher risk of being overweight or obese. It makes sense, but it really shows how important our early experiences with food are for our health in the long run.
It's like setting the stage for how we'll relate to food later on, right?
Mm.
What we learn to enjoy as kids can stick with us and affect what we choose to eat as adults, which then impacts our health.
Precisely. And it brings up a really important question. How can we help kids develop a taste for healthy foods without taking away the enjoyment of eating? Because everyone deserves to eat delicious food, no matter how old they are.
Speaking of delicious food, there's this other concept I found really interesting. Selective satiety.
Ah, yes. This one challenges the whole idea that if food tastes good, you're going to automatically overeat.
Okay, I need you to explain that one because in my experience, tasty food usually means I eat way too much.
Well, the idea is that we naturally want variety when it comes to flavor. Think about it. When you've had enough of one particular taste, you start craving something different.
Oh, so it's like our taste buds are saying, okay, enough of that, time for something else.
Exactly. And research suggests that if we focus on really enjoying each bite, the quality and the sensations, instead of just mindlessly eating a lot, we might actually end up eating less overall.
I like where this is going. So instead of scarfing down a huge plate of pasta, I should slow down and really experience each bite. Pay attention to the flavors.
Precisely. There was even a study where people ate less soup when it had chili peppers in it, even though they liked the spicy soup more. It seems counterintuitive, but it suggests that our brains can recognize and appreciate quality, which makes us feel satisfied with smaller portions.
So it's kind of like shifting from quantity to quality when it comes to taste. Instead of focusing on how much we eat, we tune into the nuances and complexity of each flavor and find more satisfaction in that. I'm totally on board with that.
Me too. It's a much more mindful and enjoyable way to eat. And speaking of enjoying food, let's talk about umami and kokumi. They're often called the fifth and potential sixth tastes.
Ooh, yes. Umami, that savory deliciousness you get from things like Parmesan cheese and seaweed. I'm a huge fan of umami. What about kokumi? What is that all about?
So umami is all about glutamate, an amino acid that triggers that savory sensation. Kokumi is a bit more mysterious. It's not a distinct taste by itself, but it makes other flavors richer and gives you a feeling of fullness and satisfaction that lingers.
So it's like the secret ingredient that makes everything taste better.
You could say that. And there's research showing that umami might actually have health benefits, especially for older people who have problems with dry mouth. Umami-rich foods seem to help them produce more saliva, which makes eating more enjoyable and could improve their oral health overall.
Wow, I never thought about that. But it makes sense. Umami definitely makes my mouth water. What about kokumi? Any health benefits there?
Research on kokumi is still pretty new, but there are some promising findings. One study highlighted a particular tripeptide, govalaglii, that's really good at inducing kokumi.
Okay, I'm not even going to try to say that 3 times fast. But
Okay.
seriously, what does this tripeptide do?
It can make low-fat foods taste so much better. Imagine a creamy, delicious peanut butter or a rich and satisfying chicken consommé. That's actually good for you. This could really help people make healthier choices.
That's amazing. So by understanding the science of taste, we can make healthy foods that actually taste good.
Absolutely. It's about using our knowledge of how flavors work to create food experiences that are satisfying on multiple levels. And get this, there's one more element of taste we often overlook: sound.
Sound. I never thought about sound having anything to do with taste.
It's where physics meets gastronomy. Studies have shown that changing the sounds we hear while we eat can actually change how we perceive a food's crispness, freshness, and even carbonation.
Whoa, seriously, like how?
For example, in one study, they just made the high-frequency sounds louder when people were biting into potato chips. And guess what? The people thought those chips were way crispier and fresher, even though they were the same chips.
No way. So you're telling me the sound itself can make my brain think something is crispier? That's wild.
It is. It just shows how our brains take in sound and use it as part of the whole flavor experience, even if we don't realize it. The sound becomes part of the taste, and it can really change how we perceive things.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. So it's not just what we taste on our tongue, but what we hear, where we are, our memories, even our cultural background.
Right.
All of that adds up to create our experience of flavor.
Exactly. It's this incredible mix of sensations, all orchestrated by our amazing brains. And we're just beginning to understand how it all works.
This is way more than I ever imagined. We went from basic taste buds to evolution to culture and now sonic seasoning. It's amazing to think about how much goes into something as simple as enjoying a meal.
It really is. And as we learn more about the science of taste, we realize it's not just about what's happening on our tongues. It's about biology, culture, psychology, even physics, all coming together.
It's a total experience engaging all of our senses and connecting us to the world in such deep ways. I don't think I'll ever look at a plate of food the same way again.
And that's the beauty of it. There's always something new to discover, something to savor, and something to learn about the world of flavor.
I can't wait to learn more about this. But for now, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about how chefs use their creativity and knowledge of taste to make incredible dishes. We'll also explore how fat plays into flavor, and even how our taste preferences change over time. So stick around. The flavor adventure continues.
You know, it's not just the food itself, though. Even the sounds WE make while eating can play a part, like all that crunching and slurping.
Really? You're saying the way I eat affects how things taste? I mean, I guess I know that feeling of like a really crispy chip, but does it really matter that much?
It absolutely does. Those sounds become part of the whole sensory experience. Think about biting into a crisp potato chip, or that gentle slurp of a well-made soup. It adds to the enjoyment, even changes how we perceive the taste.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. But why are some sounds, like enjoyable, and others make you want to cover your ears? Like bacon sizzling is always great, but soggy vegetables? Not so much.
That's a great point. There's actually a lot of research on how sound affects how we taste things. Studies have found that higher pitched sounds tend to make things taste sweeter, while lower pitches might bring out savory or bitter notes.
So you're telling me if I play a high-pitched sound while I'm eating a strawberry, it'll actually taste sweeter? That's crazy. I got to try that.
Well, it might not be quite that simple, but the idea is that the frequency of the sound can kind of mess with our taste receptors, and that can change how strong we perceive certain flavors.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like our senses are all working together to create this symphony of flavor, and we don't even realize it. Imagine what we could do if we could, like, control that.
Exactly. We could design restaurants with sounds that make the food taste even better, or even create like personalized soundtracks for our meals at home. It's a really exciting field with tons of potential.
That would be incredible. Imagine adjusting the sounds to match your meal perfectly. Talk about a next-level dining experience.
And think about people who have lost their sense of taste or smell. This could be a way to help them enjoy food again. By stimulating other senses, like hearing, we might be able to make up for those lost sensations.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like opening up a whole new world of flavor for people who might be missing out.
It all comes back to understanding how our senses work together, this complex interplay, to create how we experience the world around us.
Speaking of complex interplay, we were talking earlier about how deliciousness isn't just about taste, but about the whole food system. It's about the entire journey of a dish, from the farm to the table.
Absolutely. Think about movements like Slow Food or organizations like iFoam who promote organic agriculture. They're all about creating a food system that respects the environment, promotes social justice, and ensures that both the people who produce our food and those who consume it are treated fairly.
It's recognizing that food is so much more than just something we buy and sell. It's part of our culture, our health, and the health of the planet. And what we consider delicious should reflect those values.
Exactly. It's about making conscious choices that support a more sustainable and equitable food system, recognizing that the choices we make as consumers have a ripple effect throughout the entire system.
It's a powerful reminder that we're all connected. Even something as simple as enjoying a meal can be a way to make a positive impact. We've talked a lot about the big picture stuff, but I'm also curious about the actual process of creating delicious food.
Well, turns out there's more to it than just throwing ingredients together. Chefs have these really intricate mental frameworks or cognitive structures that guide their culinary
So
decisions.
it's not just intuition or following a recipe, there's a whole thought process behind it.
Absolutely. They draw inspiration from their training, their cultural background, their own personal taste experiences. They're constantly experimenting, innovating, trying to push the boundaries of flavor.
It's like their brains are these culinary laboratories, always analyzing flavors, textures, aromas, trying to come up with new and exciting combinations.
Exactly. One study looked specifically at the role of umami in this creative process. They found that chefs from different culinary backgrounds, like Japanese and French, had totally different ways of thinking about and using umami in their dishes.
That's fascinating. It makes sense that different cultures would approach flavor in unique ways based on the ingredients and techniques they use.
Exactly. And they took it even further. They actually used what they learned about these cognitive structures to consult with a chef who was developing a new dish, Iberian pork marinated with kombu seaweed.
Wait, so they were like taste coaches,
Yeah.
helping the chef get the flavors just right based on his style of cooking.
Exactly. They gave him advice that was tailored to how he thinks about flavor, and the result was a totally innovative and delicious dish.
That's so cool. So they were able to bridge the gap between the science of taste and the art of cooking, like they were unlocking the secrets of deliciousness.
And the dish itself was proof of that collaboration. It had this perfect balance of pork flavor, the umami from the kombu, hints of sweetness and saltiness, a truly amazing taste experience.
It makes you realize there's a real science behind creating incredible food, but also an art to applying that science creatively.
And that's what makes the world of food so fascinating. It's this incredible mix of science, art, culture, and personal experience. There's always something new to discover and explore.
Speaking of exploring, we haven't talked much about fat. I know it gets a bad rap when people are trying to eat healthy, but it's so important for flavor.
You're right, fat often gets demonized, but it's essential for creating rich, satisfying flavors and textures. Think about a juicy, fatty steak compared to a dry, lean chicken breast. The fat adds a whole other dimension of flavor and enjoyment.
Absolutely. But with everyone focused on healthy eating these days, there's this big demand for low-fat foods. So how do we make those foods taste good? Is it even possible?
That is the million-dollar question, and it's where the science of taste comes in. Researchers are looking for ways to make reduced fat foods more flavorful and appealing without sacrificing healthiness.
So are you saying we can trick our taste buds into thinking we're eating something richer than it really is?
In a way, yes. Remember that tripeptide we talked about earlier, the one that enhances kokumi? Well, it can really boost the richness, mouthfeel, and satisfaction you get from low-fat foods.
So I could eat a creamy, delicious peanut butter or a hearty chicken consomme, and it would actually be good for me. Where do I sign up?
That's the goal. By understanding the science of taste, we can make healthy foods that are truly delicious. It's about helping people make good choices without feeling like they're missing out on flavor.
That's amazing. It's like we're on the verge of a food revolution, where healthy food doesn't have to be bland. I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Me too. It's a constantly changing landscape, with new discoveries and innovations happening all the time. But with all this focus on science and technology, it's important to remember that taste is a personal thing.
Absolutely. What one person loves, another might hate. And that's okay. We all have different taste preferences based on our genetics, how we grew up, and our individual experiences.
Exactly. That's what makes food so diverse and interesting. There's no right or wrong way to experience flavor. The most important thing is to be open to new things, be curious, and find joy in exploring the amazing world of taste.
I love that. It's about embracing our own unique tastes and celebrating the incredible variety of flavors out there. And speaking of embracing variety, let's talk about how our tastes change over time. I know mine have definitely shifted as I've gotten older.
That's a great observation, and it happens to most people. Our taste preferences aren't fixed. They're always evolving based on things like changes in our bodies, trying new flavors, even cultural influences.
Oh, I definitely get that. Foods I loved as a kid now seem kind of boring, and I've started to enjoy flavors I used to hate. It's like my taste buds have been on their own adventure.
That's a great way to put it. And there are a few reasons why this happens. As we age, our taste buds become less sensitive, which might explain why older adults often prefer stronger flavors.
That makes sense. It's like our taste buds need a little extra oomph to get going.
Exactly. And trying new flavors plays a big role too. The more we explore different cuisines and experiment with new ingredients, the more our palates grow and change.
It's like a culinary adventure that never ends. Each new taste adds another layer to our understanding of flavor and opens up even more possibilities for enjoying food.
And let's not forget about the power of memory. The flavors we associate with certain foods can be tied to personal experiences, emotions, even cultural traditions.
Food has this amazing ability to bring back memories, take us back in time, connect us to people and places.
Think about that warm, comforting feeling you get when you smell your grandma's apple pie, or the excitement of tasting a dish that reminds you of a special trip. Those memories and associations really shape our taste preferences.
It's like those flavors become part of our story, woven into our lives. And as our lives change, so do our tastes. It's pretty amazing.
It truly is. It shows how much more there is to flavor than just the chemicals on our tongues. It's a whole mix of biology, psychology, culture, and our personal histories, all coming together.
This has been such an incredible journey. We've explored the science, the art, the personal side of taste. And it's clear there's so much more to discover. I'm already thinking about my next culinary adventure.
And that's what's so great about it. The world of flavor is huge and always changing, with endless possibilities for exploring and enjoying.
I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today, from the science of taste receptors to the creativity of cooking, the role of culture and memory, and the power of mindful eating.
We have, and I hope this deep dive has made our listeners a little more curious about the world of taste.
Me too. Because the joy of taste isn't just about the food itself. It's about the whole journey.
Yeah.
Keep asking questions, keep experimenting, and most importantly, keep savoring every bite.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this flavor adventure. Until next time, happy eating, everyone.
You know, we were talking before the break about how our taste preferences change over time. Like what we loved as kids might not be our favorite now.
Right, and you were saying there's more to it than just getting older, right? Yeah, absolutely. It's true that our taste buds do become less sensitive as we age. That might explain why, a lot of older adults really enjoy stronger flavors.
Makes sense. Like they need a bit more punch to really taste it.
Mm.
But what else is going on?
Well, a big part of it is what we're exposed to. The more different foods we try, the more our palates develop. Like you were saying before about cilantro, how you used to hate it, but now you love it.
Exactly. It's like my brain learned to connect cilantro with good food experiences. Now I put it on everything.
That's it. The more we branch out and try different cuisines, experiment with ingredients we've never had before, the more our tastes change and become more complex.
So it really is an adventure that never ends, huh? Every new food experience adds something to how we understand flavor, opens up more and more possibilities for enjoying food.
I think that's a great way to put it. And then there's this whole other layer, the power of memory. Think about the way you feel when you smell something that reminds you of your childhood, like maybe your grandma's baking, or tasting a dish that takes you back to a special trip. Those flavors are connected to those experiences, emotions, even cultural traditions.
Yeah, it's like certain foods can transport you back in time. They become part of your personal history, like woven into your life story. And as our lives change, so do our tastes.
It's a pretty amazing process, and it shows us that there's so much more to flavor than just the physical reactions happening in our mouths. It's a mix of biology, psychology, culture, and our unique experiences all coming together.
So we've talked about all this fascinating stuff about taste, but how can we actually use this information to be more mindful and enjoy the flavors we experience every day?
That's a great question. One of the research articles actually had some practical tips for being more aware and appreciative of food. One thing they suggested is paying attention to the different stages of tasting.
So slowing down and really savoring each bite instead of just, scarfing it down.
Exactly. Notice the aroma, how it looks, the texture, that first taste, and how it changes in your mouth. Pay attention to the sounds, the colors, even how you feel while you're eating.
It's like turning each meal into a kind of meditation, really being present and noticing all the little details.
That's a great way to think about it. They also suggested trying out different flavor combinations. Don't be afraid to explore new things, check out different cuisines, push yourself a little outside your usual tastes.
Being adventurous with our food, I like it.
Remember those chefs we were talking about earlier? They're always experimenting, pushing the boundaries of what's possible with flavors. Who knows, maybe you'll discover your own signature dish that way.
I love that. So be mindful, be adventurous, try new things. What else did you find in those research articles that really stood out?
One thing that really resonated with me was that taste is subjective. It's personal. There's no right or wrong way to experience a flavor. What matters most is that you enjoy what you're eating.
So if I like pineapple on my pizza and someone else thinks it's a crime against humanity, we can both be right.
Exactly. What's beautiful about taste is that it's so individual and diverse. We should celebrate those differences and be curious and open-minded about food instead of judging.
I love that. It takes the pressure off. Let's just enjoy ourselves. So to wrap things up, what's the one big thing you want people to remember from this deep dive?
The most important thing to remember is that the world of flavor is huge, and it's always changing. There's so much more to discover, to savor, to understand about all the things that make up our experience of taste.
That's a beautiful way to put it. I think you've given us so much to think about, so much to explore. From the science of our taste buds to how chefs create amazing dishes, the influence of culture and memory, and how to be more mindful when we eat.
I hope so. I hope it sparks some curiosity and wonder for our listeners.
Me too. Because the joy of taste isn't just about what ends up on our plate, it's about the whole adventure. So keep asking questions, keep experimenting, and most importantly, keep enjoying every delicious bite.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this flavor journey. Until next time, happy eating, everyone.